Good. Hello, everyone. This is Alan Solomon, as it says on the screen. I'm assuming all of you are seeing the slides.
Yes,
Thank you. So this is something I've wanted to do for a bit. And this is on the standard of personal computing as it is today. Or at least what I've been able to find. And let's see. Zoom slideshow. Let's see if this is working. Okay, slides. Why are we not working? Oh, it is working. Sorry. I'm just trying to work out the controls on the. Let's do that from the beginning again. All right, let me stop this share. And let me get to the right one. There we are. Okay, sorry about that. The premise of this is that the PCs, as they are this year, are amazingly different from what they've been in the past. Oh, where by scope? Let me. Are you seeing a screen called Scope, by the way?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Okay, there we are. So personal computers this year are quite a bit different from the way they have been as little as 5 years ago. When you are, what you should be expecting quite a bit more than you saw in the past. And because most of the changes and what I think of as improvement are embedded in the software, you can actually get even older machines to hardware to run better. The difference being that the older machines will run slower because each time they add new features, it requires more processing. Okay, so oh, this is wonderful. I'm seeing a different screen than you are. So let me. This is very confusing. All right, I'll just read it from the screen. That's fine. So now I'm going to be talking about personal computers in general and not a specific type of computer, because most of the computers offer the features I'm going to be talking about under their own branding. But despite that, you get the same sort of results. Just so that everyone is clear, I've been using a MacBook since 2008, but Windows on PCs and Google Chrome have caught up with virtually all the features. A lot of the features are available on smartphones and tablets, but they're accessed differently due to lack of a keyboard and a mouse. The main difference between a
a phone or a tablet, and the computer is a menu ribbon. If I knew which window I was on, I would actually show it to you. I'll do that at the end. The menu ribbon is accessed on only computers that have keyboards and mouse, and it adds hundreds of options in every program instead of the few that you see on a tablet. The options you get on a tablet are virtually the same, but you're limited in the number of them. Now you get larger files. In the MS-DOS days, before Windows, files were saved by programmer rules and difficult to retrieve. Strict file name restrictions, I think it was 6 or 8 characters and an extension, and little or no information on the contents. Now there are file types for virtually any need and simple procedures to find information contained inside those files, not just the file name, but now you can go, come, pull up a chair. And you can see things, and it's now visible, whatever information. Search. Computers now identify every word in every file, even non-word tags, and they can, by using a search, which I'll show a little later, you can find anything that contains that information. You don't even have to know where, why, or what. And because of the tags that are associated with it, if you find a file you think might contain what you're looking for, you don't need to ask. Simply ask the computer to open it, which is generally done just clicking on the file name, and it will decide what program is the right one to open that file. And sometimes it'll open it even if it was a file type that wasn't from that machine. Okay, sync of data. Personal data that for common tasks should be entered on any of your devices, computer, phone, and tablet, and would be and is available immediately with current machines on all the other devices. They link, and they link in a way quite a bit different than it was even available 5 years ago. Sharing. This is something fairly new. It means that a live file can be worked on by more than one person. Google is probably the best at this, but others do it. And it means that literally you can be looking at a file and somebody else typing information into the file you're looking at. It made me crazy the first time I saw it 6 years ago, but it really works, and they have excellent ways of managing it. Okay. Good data is still the most valuable thing on your computer. Storage space is so cheap that there's no need to delete anything. I know that on my machine with a relatively small hard drive on my MacBook, I'm going to die before I use up the space. It's just a simple fact. And you inside. Maybe. I mean, if I'll give the passwords to my kids so they can look at it, but they won't care. Storage devices do fail. So backup is required, and the easiest to do now is in cloud, your personal cloud space. I'll explain what that is, but let me go back. On the backup, Apple, a number of years ago, came up with a marvelous program called Time Machine, and it just automatically does it. And you can say, I want to look at this file the way I had it 2 weeks ago. And you open the thing up, and lo and behold, all the changes, the way the file looked 2 weeks ago before you made the next batch of changes is there. Google, by the way, in Google Drive does a similar thing. Search. Okay.
Is Google Drive for Windows computers?
Google Drive is for anything. I'll explain what it is, but it works on a browser, any browser. I use it on Safari typically. A Chromebook is built around Google Drive and the Chrome browser. They think, they say they've optimized it. I honestly don't see much difference other than a Chromebook. We have one here, works extraordinarily, is so simple that it does just about anything you would need at very little cost. Okay, so here's the basic function. Got to understand this. Define files containing a keyword, a doctor's name, a song title, action such as donation. Open your file, find your program on your computer, and type one word in the search box. One word is usually enough. 5 seconds after I searched donation, I found it was contained in a copy of Huck Finn and a few other books that I had downloaded from Project Gutenberg. This dated October 3rd, 2003. Now the box I'm running it on, the MacBook, is only 2 years old. So I carried that data over and over and over. This has got to be like 5 iterations of computer. Doesn't care. The computer knows that Project Gutenberg in 2003 asked for a donation when you downloaded the book. I can still read Huck Finn. I don't know why I would do it on a computer, on a laptop or a phone, but it's there.
Controversial.
It's very controversial, absolutely. Come on, you gotta wait. There we go. Every other program. So every other program you use should have a find function. It typically, it will either be on the top in the menu area, or you just hit Control F. So there are a lot of functions that are accessed with the control, and then that searches only within that program. So if you're in a Finder, all the program. If you're in a calendar, contact, email, songs, photos, you just go into the Finder on that, and chances are it will get you to it. A search, by the way, takes about 2 seconds at best. Think about how long it takes you to remember something. So,
Sometimes the search fails.
on you, not on a computer. By the way, search was absolutely, a global search was absolutely not available till 2005. They were beginning to think about it. At this point, everything is searchable. So that's why I say, if you keep, I have 15,000 mails in my mail file. I've been using the same Gmail account for that many years.
Many.
And, if I put in the name of a company I was working for at one time, it'll show me my mail back and forth to that company. If I, taxes or a particular person, it will come up, and it comes up very, very, very quickly. And then the source of all information. When people come in here, I'm here every Friday, and say, how do you do this? I walk to a computer and I say, how do you do this? I have an iPhone and I want to not have a keyboard. Click. Somebody has got that phone and their speaker on, so please mute yourself. No, that's not in this room. Okay. So if you go to, on your browser, Workhorse program, and you put in a question, it'll respond with useful information. I like Google as the best one, but Bing and all the others work perfectly well. Especially on Google, plan on skipping the first few choices, which are marked as S, because somebody is paying for that to be on top of the list, and it probably isn't what you're looking for. On a Google search, and I think on all of them now, they give you a synopsis of what's following. So you'll have a good idea. If you want to say, how do I do this? A lot of them now are videos. I mean, somebody will literally, anywhere from 30 seconds to 10 minutes, describe, take out his phone and show you pictures of, or whatever device and show you pictures of it working. Better than anyone can do. And, you know, if the first request didn't quite meet it, you restrict it a little and it gets closer when you do it. So it's honestly probably better than working with than going into Genius Bar or something like that to handle it. The computer information is so good now that manufacturers no longer offer written instructions. When I bought my latest iPhone, because I killed my old one, it literally wouldn't charge, you know, the buttons didn't work, the box was empty. It was empty, nothing in it except a phone. There's no written, folks, whoever's got his microphone on, please shut it. I have to stop the video in order to do that for you. At any rate, the information is so good. Every manufacturer puts it out and they keep it up to date. It changes too fast. There is no way something in writing will change as fast as the capabilities. And sometimes they change some of the access methods and all that. Hello? Oh, there we go. So the internet browser, it's more than just searching. Come on. Telling you to go on. All right. There we go. Whoop. It's taking a while to catch up. Okay. Internet browser, it's a workhorse, it's a do everything program. And literally in the case of Chrome and Chromebook, it does everything. It looks like every other program or most other programs you can think of. It contains all the commands to work with internet activity, which is by no means simple. It gets more and more complex. It works for you to use all of the protocols on the internet. I don't know what all of them are, but I know that the list grows and the complexity grows every year. That's
already answered the question about what is a port protocol.
a protocol is an industry standard. So the way in the old days with telephones, the government and the industry set a standard for what a telephone would do. And it was a wire and it was full duplex and it had this. Well, in the 80s, the government said, there are technologies that are out there. We don't know, we're not the best judge of them. We shouldn't control it. So industry, do your thing. Get going, do whatever you want to do, but agree among yourselves. So every year they come up with, oh, it would be a good idea if I could do cell phones. Remember, a cell phone call is got nothing to do with an old Ma Bell call. Nothing. It's computer. It's done with packets. I mean, the complexity is overwhelming. You can do messages with that same system. The old system, hardwire system can. So again, so these protocols are things that groups of companies in the same business have agreed to do. 5G is a good example. When they went from 3G to 5G in cell technology, everyone had to agree with it because you have to interconnect. And that's the way it worked. And that's just one of the obvious ones that people advertise. Many, many more. Almost any task can be done with an internet browser. Internet browsers, the old ones were Firefox. Now PC, on PCs, I think it's Edge that Microsoft has gone to. The native one for Apple is Safari, which has a lot of security built in. Chrome is the one that Google designed and works quite well. Except for, and some of them, they just cannot keep up with the new operations. I mean, there are programs running in the background. There are jobs. It is an unbelievable array of capabilities. And that works with the internet. And again, this is the basic program that gets you your personal data everywhere. When you log in with a password protected activity to your information, you're logging into a specific site and it's governed by these rules. And so your doctor's site, your information tightly protected, it keeps going. And then, of course, you can just say anything and a search engine, Google or Bing, will find it. Okay. Creating and saving files, one of the common things. And this is not talking about simple mail or other activity. Let's say you want to do record text. So you would go into a text file, which is typically something like Word in the Microsoft Office environment, or a spreadsheet, which is for data, simple data, or other things that you would create. That's Excel and others. If you have an example of what you want to do, you can open that file and rename it. And then that way you won't lose the information in the old file if you rename it as soon as you open it. If not, you go to a new and pick either a pre-formatted one, which they have a lot of in most programs now, or just a blank file. I typically use blank files. I'm not very fancy. And when you are, before completing your work in that file, you assign a new name to the file. Again, just the name is not the only link that will tell you what's in it. You could say XYZ 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1,000. It would work because when you go to search it, it'll know what's in the file. And again, when you exit a program, all of the files that you have open, if they have not been saved the way they are at the second you are closing the program, exiting the program, it will usually remind you to save it. There are some programs that actually save it every time you hit a keystroke. Okay, common activities: select, cut, copy, paste. These use a special temporary memory called clipboard that takes the cut or copied targeted data segment, a selection, and can paste it within the same file or another file. Let me go through the terms. Selecting anything is highlighting. However you do it, you can highlight on a tablet. It's easier and more flexible to highlight on a computer. But basically, it will show you what's been highlighted, and that is your target information. And if you cut it, and then that information in the clipboard, which can be pretty much anything. It can be an entire image file. It can be 2 words. But the clipboard is a very flexible piece of memory, but that has limitations that once you say, give it a new target and you say cut or copy, the old information is gone from the clipboard. So clipboard holds one thing at a time. Very, very, very old piece of technology, but it still works. And it's flexible because I can take something out of a spreadsheet, as I did this morning, put it into a word processor and continue working because they each have different capabilities. Okay. Email, messages. Email is so cheap that it's essentially free. And the protocol to manage and transmitted is established over many years. Cyril's son told me about some of the earliest email in the early, my wife, in the early 80s when he was in college, 70s, I guess. Yeah, early 80s, where instead of just saying, here's an address, you had to actually label the computer that you were going it to and the route you were taking. The network protocols changed all of that. So now every email address everywhere in the world is known. How it works, I don't know. That's called Internet Transfer Protocol. SMS messages are slightly different. That's newer, and they use the cell phone network. SMS is short message something. But it's not short. It's not, I mean, you can put a photograph in an SMS. You can put an article. You can, it's essentially the same, but it works differently. A lot of people who just use phones will typically change them. The way I think of it is that an email is good for sending to large banks of people. You can put in 50 email addresses quickly and easily. Much more difficult with cell phone because it's literally you're telling it to use a specific phone number to send it to. These are the common communication method. I call them standards, but they're methods. Many more are used by younger users. Social media, typically. Business collaboration programs. These are for my kids. Slack, MS Teams, Cisco WebEx. All of these are generally instant messaging between computers, and they have their own network and their own functionality. Email, you don't usually expect an instant response. People, have it running in background. A lot of people will only read their email a couple of times a day because the volume is just so great. I have 50 pieces of garbage a day plus 100 real ones. So people come up with methods to do it, but you know that when you get a message, typically you let your phone ping. So you know that something has come in. That's usually it. These other things do the same sort of thing. They alert you. And you can, of course, live on social media. Okay, going back to email, all computers offer a program to manage one or multiple email accounts, so you don't need to learn unique layouts, and they offer very efficient search, including every word in every message in the file. In fact, they even know the attachments. So if you see, just agenda and a file attached, when you search on it, if you say the date, the topic, the mutual in Leisure World, all of those will be available to you as a result of a search within the mail program. All of the messages are contained in cloud storage controlled by an outside company, but they work under industry standard protocols, which are technical rules. I should have put that earlier when I talked about protocols. So if you get email, you are using a cloud. I mean, I know a lot of people are intimidated by cloud, but that was the earliest cloud. When you send and receive email, it is not going to your computer. It is going to a surrogate that you asked to handle your mail. They do it for free. They think they get benefits from it. I don't know what they are anymore, but and they give you tons of space. They let you manipulate the files any way you want. Usually they put limitations on the amount of transmission. And they don't like holding on to 50 photographs at 1 megabyte each, or so they set their own rules on what you can put through it. But again, I use right now 3 email accounts at least. They go through my Apple Mail beautifully. And I don't have to remember passwords, I don't have to, nothing, and I know it's always secure. Searching data. Again, I see I did this twice. Your computer remembers everything it's holding in word by word detail. From Finder to Mail to Calendar, should have a search box or edit find on the menu. If the thing you're using for mail doesn't have that, throw it out. There are perfectly good programs that are free that'll do a good job, and you should not have to go from one mail program to another, depending on which mail account you're getting. And there again, typing 1 or 2 words, contain, that you think is contained in something you're looking for. You know, be it doctor or whatever, it'll find it. Guarantee it will find it. Old programs don't offer search, throw them out.
What's an old program? I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, here, we have mail attached to the old computer center, Leisure World Computer Center. And we have a web hosting that has a mail account. Typically, we access it through something called WebEx. No, I don't even remember what the name of the program, but there is a specific preferred program to get into it. That one is lacking all of the modern features and is just an absolute pain to use. So any email can be put into a modern email program, which is separate from your browser usually.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't using an old one.
I
mean, I have Google Mail.
If you have Google, but it depends how you look at the Google Mail.
Oh.
That's the difference.
That's another time.
Yeah. Inside a program like Word or Sheets or Excel, the find is Control F, and it will pop up a search window that finds everything in that file that's open. If you want to do globally, you do it at the without a file being open. Yeah. Yeah, they're fine. Common programs. Here are the common types of programs. Calendar puts an event into a time slot, allows planning and reminders. It's something I highly encourage you to use, especially if you have a device you carry with you, cell phone. They'll tie together. So I put an entry in my computer, on a tablet, in my phone. It's going to be available. And as you know, the phone will typically send you an alert when it's coming up. On smartphones now, if you put in additional information, it will give you it asks for an address on my iPhone. If I put the address in, all I have to do is click on the address and it opens up routing. It's done. Don't have to think about where is this place, what is it? It knows it or can look it up. Contacts is a telephone book and lets you contact in any of the ways that you know of to them. I add every contact into mine. I have about 1,500 or more at present. And then you can reduce the junk mail by relegating the unknown callers to voicemail without ever ringing. It's called Do Not Disturb Focus. This is still a function that's growing. So for instance, on my iPhone, it used to be Do Not Disturb. When I went looking for it, Do Not Disturb is gone. And now a much more complicated set of rules is available under something called Focus. That's why I say, don't bother with written instructions. They changed. Or they will, if you give it 6 months, they will again. Freeform storage. This is a nice one. So This allows you to copy and paste anything into a compact and secure program. Pictures, music, doodles, quotes from any source, snippets of anything, comments. You can all throw it into this thing. And again, once you open the program, you can search it. I keep medication lists. I keep passwords in it, mostly because of security limitation. A Mac is a very secure machine, Apple products. But when you store your passwords, they only work in a limited number of programs. So if you go to a mobile device, it may not remember that password or be able to get to it easily. So I keep them in text, but it's an encrypted text available only to me. And I find that saves me a ton of time. So all of my passwords are readily available. By the way, I do not on my Mac have any antivirus, zero. Okay. The having at home a secure Wi-Fi, password protected, that you can tell who has been in it and who is in it. And anything of confidential sort is now transmitted, and if we get to the end, I'll show that, is transmitted in such a way that it is gibberish all along the way. When it leaves your computer till it gets the receiving computer, it's useless.
So I may be doing something very stupid.
Go
I
ahead.
put my passwords in my contacts. Like,
No, I mean, yes, you can. Your contact list is probably secure, but this new freeform storage is a better way of handling it because you don't have to worry about the fields. Contact list is formatted very specifically. It has a field for this, a field for this, a field for that, anniversaries, all of that. And they attach to other programs in specific ways. You really don't want, I used to do that. You really don't want that. This on an Apple machine now is called Notes. It's called, I don't remember what Chrome is calling it, what Google Drive is calling it. But again, copy anything, throw it in, it's there. You can dump it later if it's really nuisance. I really liked an apple I ate the other day, and I found the label, so I took a picture of the label. I labeled that little snippet "Good Apples." Happened to have been in Evercrisp, I think was the name, and there it is. So when I go to a store and I see, oh, 15 types of apples, which one did I like? Yeah, there it is. My ID cards, my medical cards are in there. You know, why do you have to say, oh, I forgot that card today? It's there. When we would go to theaters and you had to have your COVID identification, opened it up, here's mine, here's my wife's, we're done. Never objected. Yes. Go ahead.
Let me get my brain in shape before you end with that thing. We're just talking about,
All right, well, you'll write it down, you'll get back to it. Google is called Keep, on Apple it's Notes, and on PC it's Microsoft OneNote or other programs. Again, these are all cloud stored generally to make it accessible. But you could probably get something that isn't. Yes.
I have an Apple that's 2 years old, and it has it's the Mac.
Yeah.
Pro, and it has a freeform storage button right on it.
Don't know what that one is. But bring it in Friday afternoon and we'll take a look.
Great.
Hi, this is Gail. I have a question.
Yes.
So you right now aren't using any third-party antivirus for like
I never
like
have.
McAfee or
Never.
never?
But it's because I'm using a Mac. And a Mac,
Ah,
and a Mac
okay.
Safari, if you leave the security at the levels they recommend,
yeah,
almost
I think that,
impossible. I'll talk about that toward the end, so let's go on.
okay,
It is not necessary on a Mac, and it is absolutely, it's a detriment on a Chromebook, which I'll mention later on, but it is not mandatory. It's, in fact, because it uses up resources, probably not any good. Word documents. So you can, this is for text. Generally, though it does more. So you can write and save anything you want. You can come back later and work on it again. That's the way things are written. Depending on which one you use, they have a huge number of features. The output can be printed in any way, from a newspaper to a tablecloth to mail labels. Anything you want to do, especially in Microsoft Word. I don't know a hundredth of it. But I know that if you want to do images and pictures and all that and embed them, there's no trouble at all. The people who do our newsletter at Creekside, she does it straight in Word, and it's columns and it's 16 pages, and you know, all I do is send her a text file in Word format and it's done. This session I prepared the session starting just by writing out the text that I wanted, copying some of it from other people, and reformatting, adding it to make the display user-friendly. Spreadsheets. When you're working with lists or numeric issues or a simple database, which is really a list of your own design, is the common type you should use. It does standard activity beautifully and can do it repetitively. I've used it for 40 years and I still don't know most of the features and formulas. It works. It has tests that work on numerics. It has tests that works on text. It has tests that works on conditions. It does whole lots of stuff. More and people who are good with it, you give them the concept and they will write it. I remember one company I worked for, we had a guy who did, I think his monthly spreadsheet was 50,000 lines and 200 or 300 columns. So that's that many cells. He required a huge, not this big, a huge screen to be able to see the segments. And again, you have to be very disciplined. You have to know what you're doing. But, you know, he would show me this file and I would look at it and say, that's nice. Could you tell me what I want to know? Because I can't find it. Spreadsheets are very good if you're going to repeat it. You can replace the data and do it again. I use it frequently for scheduling. You can do some pretty complicated stuff. You know, you have to understand what you're trying to get and be disciplined about it. But yeah, I was working with it the last couple of days and it's fine. PowerPoint, that's this. This is PowerPoint. It's guided format for slides used by speakers to do this. Photos. This is the largest hog, I would call it, of storage space on any computer, as each image is relatively large, typically 1 megabyte per image, versus a 60-page PDF of 860 kilobytes, or I mentioned the Huck Finn book. The book is 600 kilobytes for the whole book. So one picture is bigger than an entire a book by Mark Twain. That's why pictures will take up a lot of space. If you store them in cloud, that, for instance, is why I bought cloud storage. It's not particularly expensive, and cloud store. Oh, the other advantage of cloud storage is there is no failure. They save it in so many different places that it is statistically impossible for you to lose any data. I mean, you can say erase it and you'll lose it, but they won't lose it for you on most of the big ones. So iPhone a few years ago came up with an interesting feature so that my phone has access to my 7,000 photographs, but none of them are in my phone. They draw by program from a cloud, and it's so quick that I can't tell that they're not in my phone. So first thing you do is you get a thumbnail, which is a teeny little file, and they can give you 1,000 thumbnails at a time. It's very little transmission. And then you say, let me see the picture. You poke on the picture and it brings that file down. It's very much like streaming. Youngsters typically post their photos on social media. I know one of my kids does that, but then you lose control over who gets to see what. If you post all your pictures, anyone who has view access to your social media account gets it. All right, security. Secure Wi-Fi provided by Comcast under our contract. Theft during transmission is almost impossible. Almost all internet and email transmission uses very advanced encryption. And by the way, you can tell if it's encrypted because in your web browser, you see a little shield appear and it is preceded by HTTPS secure. So HTTP is hypertext transfer protocol. And with the S, it uses an encryption key. It was discussed on a PBS show a month ago. And it's a public, it's something called a public-private key. Your computer has a unique version. They have a version. They add it together, and it's a government could break it, but it requires so much computing power and so much expense. What are they going to steal from you? I mean, literally, if you're not a spy, if you're not military operations, and of course, some of the stuff was made available. Stuff stolen in transmission. It's pretty close to a statistical impossibility. I won't say it's completely, and you can breach security if you're really good and spend a lot of money. Security breaches, you do it yourself. You open a program in a piece of mail that was obviously junk, that you don't know the sender. That opened it up. If this happens, you get a virus remover program. Typically, it will be the same as the virus protection, but doesn't have to be. It looks for files that are known to be virus, that are known to be doing bad things in your computer. Typically, they grab information and send it on to a third-party computer. I mean, the programs that do this are known. The virus people keep up with it. And so you can, if you just did it once a month, you would probably be fine. So yes, as I said, it just doesn't happen on my MacBook. I don't even have I think I have a virus remover. I can't remember the last time I felt the need to use it.
So virus removers are antivirus programs and malware programs.
Yeah. Okay. On where you are communicating private information over the internet, over a site, it's protected by 1, your username, 2, your password, and in most cases now, a dual authentication, which says we're going to identify you here and now. Only you can do this action. And because of that, we are confident that, and by the way, and they'll, after the fact, send to your email address the fact that we opened up a new computer. Again, cloud email is on a mail server, other computer, and your communicates receive a copy of that mail. The original of that mail is on an outside computer, always has been in email. So the dual authentication currently, what people have been using is a mobile phone number is to internet companies because a mobile phone, there's only one device that can receive a phone call. Typically, you have to be doing something really sophisticated to be able to receive on somebody else's phone number. I'm not saying it's impossible. And then, so they send a second message when there's any doubt that you're you. And that message is a new exchange. It's called a one-time code, OTP. When I worked for a short while for Google, literally every day we had a device that was us. It was separate from a phone. And I had to put that in before I could get into their network, period, no discussion. The way that they continue it is by something called cookies. So they embed in your browser, and that's part of the function that it does, something that says, we've already communicated and we've passed the dual authentication. So now you can talk to me and you're fine. Because if you're using it for more than just browsing, if you're actually allowing data to be saved for you at other sites, you're going to need a password manager program. Lots of them around. Most of the browsers now embed it within the browser. Typically you can use them for free. As I said, I use the Keychain, which is the native one in Mac. It's because of Mac security, it doesn't work if you use other bits and pieces of programs. If you're using a bank's specific a program that opens up, it will recognize that program as a different browser than your original browser. So I just, at this point, in my freeform notes, I keep my passwords, and I know there's one place to look for it. There are other ways of doing it, but to me, that's the simplest. And here we're talking about again, especially with mobile devices, you will tend to have more issues where you might have to shut down one or more programs, and it will lose its history, its communication history. And there we are. So and let's see if this will actually stop sharing. And there we go. Oh, we have a nice. So we have 16 people remotely. Good. And where am I?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Were most of the, I guess what you were calling programs, I believe, are they what would be apps?
Depending, yes, on a mobile device, a tablet, or a phone, something without menu ribbon, that would be called an app.
Okay,
Again, the reason, as I had mentioned, and I didn't get far enough with it. Hang on a second, I'm just trying to get my mouse in the right place. Oh, here, if anyone has a question here, use the microphone. Here we go. All right. Any other questions?
Yes, the question, my name is Christine. And the question that I was going to ask before was when you mentioned putting in things like your, say your driver's license or your insurance card or that type of thing. How do you put it in? Do you take a picture of it?
It can
And
be anything. I used to copy text, now because the feature is just that it opens up a file, it says, what do you want to put into this new record? Picture, good, put in the picture.
So.
But I mean, yeah, obviously a picture. Yeah, it won't have the text. So that's fine. Yeah, I'll take it.
So.
Yeah.
So.
Here,
You can't hear me? Okay.
no, they can't.
Oh. I thought I was being selfish.
No.
So what we got today was a synopsis. And if we want to learn how to use Google Mail, we come in on Friday.
That's correct. What Leisure World Tech is trying to do is we're trying to bring in other people. We've already contacted the county and they're interested in giving courses, lectures on basics. 5 or 6 of them.
So we're going to a class that starts April 5th at the community college
Right,
for $90. And I think it's a more,
that would be more intensive, more complete.
yeah,
And
it's $90
Oasis,
for
instance,
seniors.
does the same sort of things. They have
Who does?
Oasis, they're down in Montgomery Mall. I
Oh.
used to do a lot of volunteer with them and they're very good at it. So absolutely. And they know the different types of computers. By the way, folks, can you see the people? Because I'm having trouble showing it on my TV at the moment.
This is Arstadetta online on Zoom.
Yeah.
The event on Friday, is that just in person?
I work here myself as a monitor. And typically a few people will come in over the course of 2 to 4 with specific questions. I mean, I will not, if your iPhone isn't working or isn't doing one function or another, I will work with you on that. Explain to me all the things an iPhone or a Android phone can do, not going to happen. Sorry.
Mhm.
I have 100 apps on mine. I use it for everything from parking to Lord knows what. And but yes, if there is simple things, how to get into a Zoom meeting and go through that with you. And I've even given a talk a couple of years ago on how to host a Zoom meeting because I had been doing that for about a year before. Quite useful.
Are you going to offer the Zoom courses again?
That Zoom discussion, I will have the slides for it distributed. I don't know that was, and again, it was a couple of years ago, a few features that are new, and that was more on the responsibilities of a host, how you actually manage to do it. You're aware, by the way, that anybody who uses Zoom can also host it. The difference is you have a limitation of a 40-minute meeting. And only, I don't know, 50 people maybe. And Zoom is, in essence, it's a video communication, not terribly different from the video phone calls you can do with your cell phone. But it allows like email, it allows a lot of drops. So 100 people is not a big deal for Zoom. They're perfectly happy to host hundreds, and businesses do it. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Oh, completely. I actually have 3 different types of things. The one I'm most confused about is Chrome. But
Well, again, and Chrome is a vehicle, so it is just something that you would use I'm just trying to, okay. And we can, you can come in and you can get a little more explanation.
Okay.
Gabe?
Yeah, I thought of a couple of things to offer, and I'll try to go through them before I forget. Sort of in reverse order, where you were talking about you'll handle one iPhone issue, but not 200. The Apple stores do wonderful on-site participatory presentations, and they do some of them online. The ones that I've been to at the Tyson's Apple store have really been great. They have tables set up, and you might have 2 or 3 or 4 people and an instructor. And so you get very personal instructions. You have a great opportunity to do Q&A. And so I think there's probably an Apple store somewhere near Leisure World. So folks might look at the Apple website and search for, I think it's Apple Today or Apple Classes, but they're very valuable. You'll get an hour of almost one-on-one and sometimes one-on-one. I've been there for things where I was the only person taking the class. And so I had an hour of chatting with an instructor who would handle all of my questions. Going back to antiviruses, I just wanted to mention that on Windows, it's really not necessary anymore to have an add-on antivirus. The built-in antivirus protection, Windows Defender, is now really considered to be adequate for antivirus, anti-malware protection. And by not installing something else, you just avoid burdening your computer. Everything you have on your computer that's trying to take care of you can get in the way. And I used to run some of the Norton products, and they had kind of a fat, heavy footprint. And so it's a lot better just taking advantage of what Windows provides.
If you already have that loaded in on your computer, could you do an uninstall against McAfee? Or
Yeah, sure. Sure.
And-
I mean,
Yes, of
if you've been using it, if you're comfortable with it, it's not that they're dangerous, it's not that they're harmful, but this is more for setting up a new computer. You might just start using the native Windows Defender and,
Well, I
not
just noticed
not bother with something else.
yeah, I just noticed it's ever since I've gotten the McAfee antivirus, my machine's been much slower.
Yep,
So I
that's often a sign of what you're running, and you can definitely just remove something like McAfee or Norton. And
Okay.
a caution I wanted to
I-
mention related to cloud storage is that cloud storage is very reliable, but it's not perfect. And I know people who have lost data stored in cloud storage. And
Okay.
so it's great for backup, it's great for synchronization, it's great for storage, but it's not infallible. So it's always worth having 3 copies of your data, the original and something else, and then something else beyond that. And there are lots of different ways to have those 2 other copies, but the last thing you want to find out is just at the time when you need what you put in cloud storage, there's something wrong with that cloud. And one suggestion is that if you're using cloud storage for backup or anything for backup, practice doing a restore of a file every once in a while, because the last thing you want to do is when you've lost a file, when you've had a problem, and now you need to restore it, having then to figure out how restore works, or even worse than that, figuring out that what you thought has been backing up has not.
If
Rod, thank you.
if
Thank you.
removing the antivirus is difficult, what should we do? Come up into the lab and see if you can help us? Or
That one's a little beyond me. I would say you might want to, well, first look it up in Google. There are instructions and recommended programs to use. And if that's a little, if that doesn't work or you're not comfortable with that, you might use the services of a PC service company. Again, I mean, I used to do that all the time, and with Mac, I just don't.
Way of getting out of it, I had more and didn't like it. So when the time came to pay my bill.
Yeah.
I changed my credit card number and never answered all their emails, so now they have.
Yeah, but the program is probably still on your machine. Doing nothing, but it's,
You don't think they take it out?
they don't touch you, no. No, it's there, but again, it's doing so little that it's not a harm. I don't know if everyone over there could hear, but she said that she disconnected the payment and thought that was enough to get Norton completely out of her hair. I doubt it. JR, your hand is up?
Yes, thank you. First, I'm gonna answer your question. You asked if we could see the people in the room there with you. Didn't you ask that question?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah, I can't see everybody clearly.
I have a connection to our television, so I don't know what I did. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I can see them. My question is, one of my question is, you mentioned Freeform storage. Is that an app or how do you access that?
Freeform is on all of the major, on Android, on Mac, and on PCs. PCs, you might have to buy it separately, though, if you have Microsoft Office. It's part of it. And I mentioned the name. I'll distribute the information if you send a request for the slideshow to Leisure World Tech at Gmail. These are programs that are built in. The advantage to at least the Apple one and the Google one is that they connect in with your account, and the storage is actually done primarily in cloud, encrypted. So
Okay,
that is available as long as you have a device that's talking to that cloud that's been certified as valid. It works, and it has worked for me quite well. Again, I know it's encrypted and I know it's secure. Is it impossible to break? I doubt it. But I don't think that I have enough money for someone to be able to steal. I regularly check my bank accounts. So, and that's what you're looking for. If somebody has stolen money from your bank account, you alert your bank. Just like if your credit card is been used. I mean, my bank called me, were you in California, and charged $1 at a gas station. I said, no. He said, thank you. We'll send you your new card in the mail. Done. I mean, that's typically the test that someone has done. I was in the business, has done, that's been the test for 30 years. Is this
okay.
a valid? Yes.
And the Comcast security protection, did you say that Comcast has a security protection in place also?
Yes, so if you're working from home, that means that you have a direct connection to the Comcast network. And someone cannot be eavesdropping on your communication between your computer and the Comcast network without knowing your home password. And by the way, Comcast gives you an internet method. It's on their apps or on their site that says who's on my internet account. In fact, I had allowed it to somebody who was not in my household because we were doing business with them. And every 3 months, I see them active on my account. But I know who the business is and what it is. And literally, I can see everything connected, including my internet speakers. There's internet radio for streaming things, the TVs that work by it, all of that stuff is visible. So if you don't like what you see, you can shut it down.
And so your clinics are on Friday from 2 to 4 in the computer center, right?
Friday, yes. And
2 to
love
4.
to-
Okay.
Okay, anyone
Thank you.
else?
So I have the computer storage, I have the cloud storage, and I have 1 terabyte solid state drive. Is that what you're talking about?
That's your backups, yes.
Yeah.
For the solid state drive, typically you want to hook that up with a backup program
Right.
that where it just stays attached to the machine. You ignore it. It does it routinely.
Right.
As I said, Apple's Time Machine was the best and the earliest. Now there are others. For Google Drive, because you're not storing locally, you're storing on their machine. It is backed up, it is in the cloud, which essentially means multiple copies. As you finish your keystroke, there is no request to save the file. It shows you your file is saved. I've been using, by the way, Google Drive on a MacBook for years. And for simple stuff, and it doesn't have the bells and whistles of Word. It's pretty good for Excel, maybe not perfect, but I mean, the amount of stuff it does, I probably have 200 files I put in it. And they even have something that's not available, which is called a form, where you can have people submit data to you. That's how we do sign in here. So that machine is not saving a thing. It just is a conduit. The stuff is saved in a private activity. And we can ask it to ask any questions for people to fill in. Okay, 3:00. I probably outworn my welcome, but if anyone has any other questions.
Yeah, I just thought of one other thing I had intended to say, talking about storing credentials, specifically in the Apple Wallet. I use my iPad, iPhone, and Apple Watch. And for some credentials, I just take a picture of them. But for others, specifically like my vaccination record, I'm able to go to a website, a Fairfax County website, and log on the website. And that brings up a QR code, a data display on my computer. I point my phone camera at that, and it installs my vaccination record in my phone wallet and on my watch. And so that also includes an authentication, so that if I show someone my credentials on my watch, they can tell that it's authentic. They can tell that I have not counterfeited it. And the same thing I've done, I think, for my Geico insurance card and maybe my AAA card and my AARP card. And more states are making that available for driver's licenses. So it's more efficient and also much more secure than just showing someone a picture that may or may not be easy to read. More and more services, websites, applications provide automatic built-in ways to install credentials on your phone, on your Apple Watch. And I suspect that at least for Android phones, there's something similar, but I've been doing it on Apple, and it's very, very simple, very, very seamless.
You remember, all of us here in Leisure World know that if you go into Dwelling Live and you give somebody a pass, what the pass produces is a code on their phone, which communicates to our gate. They look at the pass, which is, I don't know, is it a QR code? I haven't seen them, I haven't used it.
My husband's getting one today for my son.
Right, and so, yes, because internet transmission is so fast and so ubiquitous, it's everywhere. These sorts of things are becoming more and more trusted, more organizations are using them. It saves money and it's quite efficient. It depends on the level of security you want to maintain, but for relatively low level of security, like, if you're replacing a printed card, one of these things is 100 times better in terms of security. So there is no problem at all with it. Okay, I've talked myself out. Anything else? Ron, thanks for coming. Yes,
Is there?
take the mic. They can't hear. That's not from me. I can hear you, but they can.
Okay, hi, it's Christine again. Is there any way that we can get a copy of the information that you
Yes,
gave
I'm
us
going to
today?
do it.
Thank you.
If everyone who has signed in here, I'll send a copy. If you put your email in on the computer, I'll make it just mark it attending lecture. That's easy for me, and anybody who's online who wants the deck, I can do that. I assume that when we get our new website built, we will have available these recordings and these slide decks. They're called for ready access. Again, nobody in the club is a competent webmaster, so we're waiting until we figure out how to get that done. But we expect to have something that's reasonably good looking. If we're going to be promoting technology, we better be able to use it at least a little. Yeah, well, money is a bad.
You get it done.
That's exactly right. And anybody who likes what you're hearing, we are looking for volunteers in the worst way to do what Marguerite is doing now act as a monitor, what others do to come in and just monitor, or we'll help you. We're going to be getting courses for people to learn. And then once you've learned it, you can share your knowledge with other people who come in and make the cycle work a lot better. We're hoping, for instance, next year to have high school students being able to come in and spend their time here. We haven't figured that part out yet, but anybody who has done that sort of thing, please come and talk to us. We're interested in all the help we can get. We would like to increase the value to the community, is basically what we're looking for.
A question, I'm so old fashioned, I like paper.
Yes,
I'm old fashioned and I like pen and paper and copies and things like that in my shoe boxes, put them under the bed. What do people do who lose their phone, their iPad
well,
and all of that? What do they do with the information that they once had?
okay. That's what's called backup. So the phone itself, the device, it's just a device. It's the fact that it connects to my iCloud account. And I have 3 devices that connect to it. Or I have it on a backup drive. So when you lose, so that information is transferable. Remember I said Huck Finn, 2003?
Yeah.
It got moved. Every time it got moved. Devices have failed. I lost a backup device. That one was an expensive a piece of stupidity on my part, because I didn't have, I had one copy of something, and there's only one way, when you have one copy. That's why I now spend money to back that one copy up. But the multiple devices, and again, the photos that I took in 2005, say, when I first started using a digital camera, were different, smaller files, taken with different cameras. But they follow the same standards as brand new ones taken with this, or with a very modern electronic Nikon, and they work to, the same program. It will
If
always train to go back.
if I understand her question, she's asking what happens if she loses a device, and if you buy a new device, it can be downloaded from the cloud to
Oh,
you.
no. When it's just, this is probably a month old. And when I went into the Comcast store, Comcast, by the way, has very good prices on cell phone service. When I went in, it took them about 20 minutes and all of the data. I mean, he didn't even have a cord in between. He just said, do this, and okay, let's wait 15 minutes, and everything was there. In fact, all of my preferences were there. The only thing I had to do all over again was my Face ID, because, I mean, they want that Face ID to be very specific. That's something that they will allow to be, you cannot carry that over. That is the ultimate security for this phone. That's what opens it. And so they don't, but I mean, my password, the 6-digit password was right there, all done. So little setup that I was simply amazed. So yeah, the device is immaterial. You can put this down the toilet, doesn't make any difference. It's gonna cost you $1,000, but I mean, the data is the data. It's not here. The data is not here. On a computer, the first copy of the data is in the computer, typically. Chromebook, first copy of the data is on Google's cloud. And again, you have to have some level of faith that it's secure in transmission and secure in location. But my experience has been for what I need, and I think what most people here, I mean, I have all my bank accounts that I communicate with. I typically don't have many of them on my phone. I find phone apps, the specifics, I find them to be more of a nuisance because you don't have the ribbon menu. And that ribbon menu gives you way more options. So, you know, when they design an app, they have to say, okay, I have this much screen that's, 100 words, probably less. And what's the best thing I can offer using that 100 words? Well, but I mean, but you can't make a remote deposit without a mobile device. It is not an option on a computer, on the bank site with a computer. It just isn't there. Okay. Thank you all for attending. I'm killing the recording now.